Hey, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Amanda.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Kathleen.
And this is the federal election edition of Beyond a Ballot, powered by DoorDash.
Hello and welcome. I'm Hannah Thibodeau. It is Thursday, April the 10th, and guess what is still hijacking the campaign trail? Oh yes, the key issue, President Donald Trump, because of course it is. However, there were announcements today, but I'm going to theme it with Donald Trump and then everyone can mention the announcements too. Liberal leader Mark Carney has once again hit pause on the campaign for the third time, returning once again to Ottawa and into the Prime Minister's chair. Rachel is hitting her forehead. But I am going to ask Amanda about this. Amanda Alvaro, what exactly will Prime Minister Carney do during this pause?
Well, I always think it's funny when Rachel gets upset about Prime Minister Mark Carney being the Prime Minister. I mean, what is the alternative? That we just go without a Prime Minister while we are engaged in a trade war? I don't know. But anyway, Mark Carney, what was he doing today? Mark Carney was following suit in the crime announcements. So yesterday,
Yes.
Polyev made a big crime announcement. Today, it was Mark Carney's turn. I hate when that happens on the campaign trail. And it happens because these campaigns have planned out their stops and they know what they're going to talk about when they talk about. It's just unfortunate when one similar announcement follows another. So today, he released his plan to fight crime, protect Canadians, build safer communities. That's how they coined it. He talked about the plan to bring criminal gangs to justice, to stop illegal guns and drugs from flowing over the border. Talked about continuing to implement the gun buyback program for assault-style firearms while still respecting hunting and sport shooting, revoking licenses for individuals convicted of violent offenses. Talked about hiring thousands of new RCMP officers and Canada Border Services Agency officers to crack down on those illegal drugs and guns coming over from the U.S. And then he talked about really toughening the criminal code to make bail laws stricter for violent and organized crime, for home invasions, and for car stealings, which have been really popular topics, especially in the urban centers. And this he wrapped up in protecting families, children in the communities by protecting victims of sexual violence and intimate partner violence. And that was a topic that Polyev talked about just yesterday.
So there's all that as he heads back to Ottawa to once again convene other meetings about the trade war. Rachel, I'm going to let you jump in here. I am going to continue to theme it. You tell me what other things you want to talk about. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was in Milton, Ontario, blasting Mark Carney for what he calls a failure to stand up to Donald Trump. Rachel, he even called it a mystery why the U.S. president treats Canada worse than dozens of faraway countries who are not supposed to be America's best friend. How did that message land, and what else did he talk about?
Well, I just want to dive in there on what Amanda was saying. I mean, that's a good question. What would I expect him to do? He is the prime minister, but the reason I bang my head when we talk about this is because I think it's just a little bit rich that for a party who prorogued Parliament as we were heading into a tariff war with the United States has to pull their leader off of the campaign
That was Monk
trail
laughing.
every second day to fly back to Ottawa to sit behind his desk. It's like, come on. I mean, how many times are Canadians going to buy the fact that this guy is flying back for emergency situations when we just had months and months of asking Justin Trudeau to go to the polls, Parliament to be recalled? Everybody's falling off their chair laughing. Okay, well, that's
Rachel,
my
snap.
perspective. Yep. Oh, Hannah's snapping for me, so I'll take that as a win. But yes, Pierre Poilievre was in Milton today. We continue to see him in Ontario. Again, just looking at the polls, the Conservatives will have to pick up seats in Ontario, specifically southwestern Ontario. And he is going to be doing another rally tonight in Kitchener. So looking forward to seeing how that goes. He announced a more housing policy. He announced a few weeks ago that he would cut the GST on new home builds up to $1.3 million. We talked about that. Today, he was talking about something that I, as a policy wonk, thought was really interesting. It's to incentivize municipalities to cut building taxes. So he's saying that he will give $1 of up to 50% of reimbursement for every dollar of relief that municipalities give in development charges. So instead of just saying we're going to cut the housing costs, it's about working with different levels of government across the country and incentivizing them to make things more affordable for Canadians. I think this is interesting policy. I think this is effective policy. And I think it's a great way, because we often talk about who's responsible for what and how do we engage different levels of government. I think this is a really cool policy to look at when trying to solve that massive issue of this campaign and the astronomical affordability crisis we have in housing.
Kathleen Monk, I'm going to continue on the theme, but you can go wherever you want. Everybody is today. That's just the way it is on this show. The NDP leader, Jagmeet Singh, was campaigning in Saskatoon, and he sort of made a reference to what's happening with the U.S., saying in this trade war, the NDP would oppose any cuts to federal services. Kathleen Monk, weigh in.
Yeah, the one leader that had a very clear tie to Trump today. So gold star for that. Yeah, Jagmeet
Campaign call-outs later, Kath.
Jagmeet Singh was in Saskatchewan, and he was actually challenging Mark Carney, saying, the way that he has set out his plan to balance Canada's books would result in $43 billion in cuts in year 3. And Jagmeet Singh basically posed the question to Mark Carney, at a time when Donald Trump is threatening us with tariffs, threatening our jobs, frankly, threatening our very sovereignty, is this the time to be cutting, services that Canadians rely on? Things like nurses, hospitals, any kind of transfers, social transfers. And basically saying it would mean that there'd be $300 million, I think, alone from healthcare. And that would result in over or close to 3,000 nurses. And we all know we're in frankly, a nurse deficit already. I don't know if any of you have taken, I think actually Amanda was at the hospital with one of her children recently. I was at the emergency for 16 hours just 10 or 12 days ago with one of my sons. So I know we can't withstand those cuts. And I really want all of our governments to commit to more investments in health, not cutting the services that we rely on. So there you go.
Campaign call out time. I am going to go campaign roulette. Kath, you're first today.
Okay, well, I actually didn't prep a campaign call out. I thought I would just do it on the fly, reacting to you ladies today. So I'm going to do a double. So one, as you might recall, I did the shout out to journalists yesterday, and I gave the quotes on and I think that story has legs. I saw Mark Gollum from CBC wrote up a piece about this today. So just wanting everybody and hoping that the campaigns are more open to treating journalists with the respect that they deserve. And I guess my other funny campaign call is going to be to Rachel Siegel for her chutzpah of actually being able to say that it's a bit rich for Carney to play the role of PM after proroguing Parliament, after the Conservatives basically wouldn't let Parliament function from September 2004 up until December. So
they
as somebody who unfortunately watches Parliament every day, and I do watch it every day, it was just a cluster mess in that Parliament. So the idea that anything would get done is just ridiculous. But that's
okay. There's another snap for Kathleen. Rachel, I'm going around this way. So your next campaign call out.
I will also just remind our listeners today that it was Mark Carney who called this election. And we did not actually even have to go to the polls, as we were in a trade war with Donald Trump at this moment. We could have just kept going, brought Parliament back.
The Conservatives won an election that they've been calling for the last 2.5 years.
We wanted one exactly. As soon as Donald Trump came in.
Rachel, there's a phrase there's a phrase called "you can't suck and blow." Have you heard that one?
Oh, yeah. Well,
I love it when you guys get rowdy.
That reminds me of the Clueless scene. You know that scene where they're playing suck and blow. Okay. Anyways, I hope somebody got that reference. Okay, I'm gonna go. My shout out today is the Globe and Mail. Mark Carney was said to have met with executives from a pro-Beijing group called Jiangsu Commerce Council of Canada during his leadership. And the Globe and Mail today was talking about that. Carney was then asked in a press conference whether or not he did meet with them. He denied that, got a little feisty, got a little spicy, as we see him do sometimes. And then the photos came out of him meeting with them during his leadership. So this isn't the first time we've heard Mark Carney get a little riled up over an accusation and then find out that it was actually true. So good on the Globe and Mail for highlighting that for us today.
Amanda
Never
Alvaro,
go up
you're
against Never
go,
go up
Cass.
against Steve Chase. Never go up against Steve Chase or Robert Fife. Like, that is the rule of
Yeah,
life.
amen.
You know?
Yeah,
It's like you
true.
don't
It's
sword
true.
fight with Zorro. You don't spit against the wind. And you really hope that Robert Fife never wants to do a story about you.
Yeah.
We're not even Friday yet, gang. So it's like, just imagine what tomorrow's going to be like. Amanda, your campaign
Seriously.
call out.
It's so true. Okay, my campaign call out is for the winners in the conservative rallies who are wearing the Don't Believe the Polls sweatshirts. You like, I just, if there's anything that gets me, it's the people who don't accept election results, don't believe the facts, hate the evidence, and it's very Trump-esque. So I know that the conservatives do not want
Yep.
that comparison between themselves and the Trump guys. But when you have a whole, swath of rally supporters who are wearing these sweatshirts telling people not to believe what they're reading in the polls, you are treading precariously close to that Trump-esque mentality. So my call out is for them, and the blowback that they should receive and are receiving. Please, let's not go there, and let's make sure that we're respecting the results. Of course, the only poll that matters is the one that happens on election day, but I have a hard time believing that there's a whole number of polls that are wrong right now, and I think we're going to talk about polls in a couple of days so we can get
We
into
are.
that.
Okay, I'm going to have to end it today. That's today's edition of Trump Talk. But hey, tomorrow's Friday, and maybe we will get a breather from that. I don't know. Do you think we can go a whole episode without mentioning that person's name?
No.
Okay, well, we'll give it a try. There's our challenge. See you tomorrow. Catch you then.
Thank you for listening. New episodes come out daily, and you can find Beyond a Ballot on Instagram and wherever you find your podcasts. A huge thank you to our title sponsor, DoorDash, and sponsors Equal Voice, Page, and Canada Powered by Women for making this election special possible. Speak to you tomorrow.